What's going on, everybody? It's been a long time since we've come at you with a new video. It's middle of summer here, just not too much going on outside. It's crazy hot, crazy humid today. It just got done raining, but I wanted to do this again for 2024 because we have not done a full walk around on everything that's on the Jeep and how we built it in almost a year now, and a lot has changed. So today's that day. We're gonna go around the Jeep, do a very detailed walk around. If you know about the rig, this is probably not the video for you to watch. But if you're one of the ones always asking what's on it, what are we doing next, blah, 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 this is for you. We're gonna go through this thing step by step, every little detail. So stick around, we'll hop right into it. So for those of you that may have been living under a rock for the past 2 or 3 years that we've been doing YouTube, this is our 04 Wrangler TJ. It's an X model, or I should say it started as an X. It's definitely not an X anymore. It's got the 5-speed manual, 4-liter inline 6, good drivetrain combo to me. We bought this Jeep in 2019, so we have had it right around 5 years now. Bought it bone stock because I wanted to do everything myself, which we have done. I guess we will start literally from the ground up. First things first, the only piece of the Jeep that actually makes contact with the ground are the wheels and tires. So wheels and tires, we are running a 37-1250 Nitto Trail Grappler on a 17x9 KMC Grenade Crawl beadlock. It's the best looking beadlock out there in my opinion. The rock rings have taken a for sure beating, and they still look good. Having the polished aluminum ring really helps hide a lot of the rock rash that a lot of people's wheels tend to show if they've got a black or some sort of powder coated ring. Bare aluminum hides it pretty good. I'm really impressed with the tires. I've always run Nittos. This is probably my 4th or 5th set of Nitto Trail Grapplers on any vehicle I've ever had. Only set of 37s though, and man, at about 8 to 10 PSI on the type of East Coast trails we run, these things hook up great, do exactly what I wanted them to. So that's wheels and tires, 37-1250 Nitto Trail Grapplers on a 17x9 KMC Grenade Crawl beadlock. Those wheels are a 3.5 inch back spacing or -38 offset, whichever you tend to go with. Next closest thing to the ground, I'd say, are axles. And I know that's what everybody's gonna ask about. We are running 2 Fusion Dana 44s. Fusion's version of it is called the Elite 44. So we have a 44 front, 44 rear, both made by Fusion 4x4 out of Michigan. USA made housings. They come loaded. Both of mine have an Eaton e-locker in them for traction devices, and also 488 gears in both. So Eaton e-lockers and 488s. Rear's just got chromoly shafts in it, standard chromoly shafts. I believe they're 35 spline. And then the front, I went with RCV axles, 30 splines. So again, front and rear Fusion 44s. I should be able to run up to a 40 on these axles comfortably. They're extremely beefy. I'm not at all concerned about the housings. Really the only thing that I can see going in one of these axles is if I start hopping with 40s and break a rear shaft. But again, that's very unlikely. So Fusion Dana 44s, RCVs in the front, 488s in both, Eatons in both. Those are the axles. Staying from our ground up order, next thing I'll hit on is lift. We are running a full Curry, otherwise known as Rock Jock, 4-inch suspension lift. This kit is a short arm. We got 4-inch springs. We've got fully 8-way adjustable control arms. I say 8-way. Both ends of the Currys are adjustable on the uppers. One end is adjustable on the lowers. All 8 are adjustable, I guess is what I meant to say on that. So like I said, this is a kit from Rock Jock. It's a short arm, Johnny joints in both ends of the arms. It's very quiet on the trail. These are like progressive rate springs, I believe is what they truly are. Some people call them dual rate. I think Rock Jocks is actually a progressive rate where the rate starts tighter wound down here and then slowly works its way up to more of a standard linear rate on the top. Rides really well, flexes out well. I started on a Rubicon Express 4.5 inch. I had linear rate coils in here, and every time we got off-road and I flexed the thing out, the spring would pop out of the bucket and would start clacking for the rest of the ride, and I'd have to reset it every time we got home. So I don't have this problem anymore with this lift. I'll back up and get you a side view of how the Jeep sits. Again, these are 37s, and the 4-inch works great. Only rubbing we've got is a slight rub back here. As you can see, probably need to touch that up. Starting to get a little surface rust on it. It rubs the very edge of the pinch weld on the body and then a little bit of the Motobilt fender. That's your lift. Like I said, it's a 4-inch Curry. You get it from Rock Jock, all 8 arms, 2 track bars, both adjustable, 4-inch springs. I believe that's about it for the lift. Sticking with Rock Jock, we are running an anti-rock front sway bar, stock rear sway bar, but the anti-rock in the front has made a huge difference. No more pulling up to the trail and trying to wrestle off quick disconnect links or anything. You just pull up, unload, and you're good to go, because that's really an off-road sway bar. There's 3 settings on it. This right here is more of a street mode. That's an intermediate, and then we run it on the most aggressive off-road mode because this thing doesn't see much street driving. For shocks, you may have seen them already. We're just running a Bilstein 5100. One thing that I did kind of have to custom do on this one is these are JK front shocks. I had to measure and order the correct length JK shocks just because. See if you can see way down here. That's a JK mount. It does not have a bar pin in it. The TJ stuff is a bar pin mount on the axle end. Fusion went ahead and just went to the JK style for the TJ axles, which is a better design anyway. So I had to delete the bar pin when I did the front axle swap. But same shock pretty much. So Bilstein 5100s. All the way around. I'm not outboarded or anything. They're in stock location. One key component that allows us to run the 37s, as you can see, this Jeep is highlined. We've got Motobilt highline flares on here. This is their 2-inch flare. Came out really sharp. I painted these aluminum inserts the khaki color to kind of match the Jeep. So front 2-inch highline flares, we've got the Motobilt rockers, and then the Motobilt 2-inch rear flares. These are not technically a highline. Those are just their stock 2-inch rear flares. There's nothing in the rear is highlined. The way we've got our bump stop set up, we don't really need it. So sticking with armor, we are pretty much all Motobilt. We've got a Motobilt front stubby. This is just their front stubby bumper. I believe it's literally called stubby bumper. And on it, we've got sitting a Warn VR Evo 8S winch and a factor 55 flat link. So that's our winch and front bumper setup. It's a Motobilt stubby with a Warn VR 8S synthetic rope. The 8 is plenty for a stock TJ. I say stock TJ. For a stock length, non-weighted down TJ, you know, I don't have a hard top. We don't run a spare. Don't really need that much force to pull these things, so an 8 is plenty for these. And then a factor 55 flat link. I believe it's the Expert. Coming around back now, the rear bumper is the only piece on the entire Jeep that's armor that is not Motobilt. And it is a Barnes 4-wheel drive slim rear bumper. We used to run a spare back here and had a highline. I'm sure you guys remember that. That was a great bumper. No issues with it. American made. really stout. But with being stock wheelbase, we've started hitting some gnarlier trails now where I was starting to feel tipsy, and so I was trying to lower the center of gravity. So we dropped the rear spare and just went to this simple, clean Barnes slim bumper back here, and it's worked great so far. So all the armor on the entire rig is motor-built other than the rear bumper. Let's give you guys a good shot of the side profile. Really love how this thing sits. 37, 38 is really the biggest you can go on these without doing a stretch, in my opinion. So before we get inside the Jeep, I'm gonna come down here and show you our skid setup and a couple key components that I do not want to forget. So for skids, we're running all Barnes 4-wheel drive. That is their engine oil pan skid, and it mounts to the Barnes drop skid for the transfer case. This gives about a 1.5 inch clearance additive compared to the stock shovel skid. In other words, this thing pretty much picks everything up about an inch. It doesn't get you much, but it does get rid of that factory shovel pan type skid that tends to get hung up on everything. Up front, we are running almost said Adams. We used to have an Adams, we switched, and we are now running a Tom Woods. This is just a standard Woody 1310 joints. Nothing special up there, but it is a Tom Woods. In the rear, we're running another Tom Woods. This one's custom made, and for the reason is because we're running a 241J 4-to-1 case out of a TJ Rubicon. That has honestly been one of the best upgrades we've done. With this being a manual, it just makes life a whole lot easier on the trail with that 4-to-1 gearing. So that's a critical component to this build that I did not want to leave out. So I wanted to grab that before I forgot it. 4-to-1 Rubicon case, huge help on the trail. So we've hit axles, we've hit armor, we've hit wheels and tires, we've hit lift. I did want to mention the steering. This is actually our most recent upgrade. We're running a Curry Correct Link steering. We've actually got Black Magic Brakes tie rod on here, which is a heat-treated chromoly as compared to the non-heat treated Curry. We kept bending Curry tie rods. I really still believe in their stuff being well made, but I was taking a beating with these tie rods. I bent 2 in a row. So we got this suggested to us. This is Mr. Blaine's Black Magic Brakes. It's his tie rod. It accepts the Curry 1-ton joints, and so far so good. But the upgrade I wanted to mention was the PSC Hydro Assist. We just got done with this yesterday. It is a PSC big bore steering box along with the ram kit from Black Magic Brakes, and then all the plumbing to go with it. Also did the PSC high flow pump and the reservoir, which are under the hood. I did want to show you this ram mount. A lot of people say, whoa, you can mount a ram to the drag link. Yes, you can, and I can attest it works. So just depends on what your steering setup is. On a stock TJ style Y-link, there's no room to mount a ram to the tie rod. It would interfere with everything unless you custom weld it onto the driver's side of the axle. But it works well in this stock location where the steering stabilizer was. And honestly, the best thing I can describe the feeling of the PSC Hydro Assist kit is it's similar to driving the Jeep back when it was on stock size tires. It just makes it very easy to turn. So I think that's everything from underneath. I did want to come up top and hit a few things. We are running factory TJ half doors. This Jeep came with full doors on it. We wanted halves, and so we went and found some. These were actually white, hanging in a guy's barn about an hour from here. I drove out there, bought them off of him, and stripped them down, had the outsides painted to match the khaki, and then I redid the insides myself. Turned out great. I redid the handles. These are pretty much totally rebuilt TJ half doors. And there I just keep my air down kit and my gloves. So there's the half doors. came out great. One of my favorite things we've ever done to this Jeep. As far as a top, we're running a best top, Trek top, which is the slant back. Obviously we are topless today. It's quite hot, so we have the top off, but it's running a best top Trek top. Like I said, it's got the slant back, really clean look. We do have a spider web shade on here. Let's see if I can zoom in and get that spider web shade. It just helps keep the cab a little cooler on these hot days. Kind of cool looking as well from the inside. Kind of has this custom netting look to it. So there's our top. I get asked all the time about the cage. This is just a Smittybilt bolt-in, guys. There's nothing crazy to this cage. A lot of people see this back rear bar and think it's some custom deal. No. So everything bolts in. This is not a full weld-in cage like a Genrite or anything. This does add some protection, but I would not want to really barrel roll with this thing. I put this in here just in case we happen to teeter over, and it will add some added protection. You got the windshield bar, your grab handles, it surrounds the windshield, ties into the factory frame rails up here, goes back, hits the roll bar, and then flares back and ties in again back here. This bar, what it is just the piece that's meant to go up here, but with the Trek top, you can't run it where it was designed to be run, which is right in there. It interferes with the zipper and everything, so I have just slid that down. And actually, if I slid it a little further down, it would have worked well for a harness bar for this back seat. But that's what that is. That's just the rear bar from the Smittybilt. Sounds like we're about to get poured on, guys. So Smittybilt bolt-in cage, nothing crazy to it. You guys can get one from 4 Wheel Parts or wherever your Smittybilt dealer is for, I think, about $800. It's about half of what a Poison Spider used to cost, which unfortunately they don't make anymore, and about a third of what a Genrite cage costs. So up on the dash, nothing crazy, stock khaki color. There's your gauges, everything's stock steering wheel, no custom wheel. 4-wheel drive shifters, stock manual 5-speed shifter, stock air conditioning, everything. I do have the switches for our lockers and my pod lights down there in the factory location. Kept it kind of clean looking. I do have a Pioneer system in here. Excuse me, that's a Sony. I have a Sony radio in here. Can't talk today. That's a Pro Clip mount, just to hold my phone. There's a GoPro mount if you're wondering how I film on the trail and keep it so steady out over the hood. The GoPro mounts to that right there on the roll bar. Already mentioned the spider web shade. Got some cool stickers on here, rock, all that good stuff. Seat covers are bar tacked, best you can get. Neoprene. These things get trashed when we're on the trail, and all I do when I get home is take a wet towel and just wipe them down. All the mud comes off. Dogs have been in the back, still looks new. Great investment. They are fairly expensive, but in my opinion, they're worth it. If you want to keep your stock TJ seats, I'd highly recommend investing in some of these. So we did do a video on this, but I'm running a rock hard 4x4 rear harness bar with some PRP 4.3 harnesses. My wife is in love with hers. She gets thrown around because she's not holding on to the steering wheel or the shift or anything. So when we're riding, she really gets tossed around like a rag doll out there. And she cinches this harness down now, and it keeps her nice and tight in place. They look great. Theoretically, you'd like to have some pass-throughs in here, but they still work fine with the factory seats. Keep you nice and retained in the seat. Again, those are PRP 4.3, just a standard black harness. And they're mounted to this rock hard 4x4 bar. I can link any of this stuff in the comments if you guys are interested in it. So that is really the interior, guys. Not too much going on. Got some little bar tack goodies here and there, but it's mostly stock. Like I said, the main question I get is on this back here, and this is just a piece of the Smittybilt bolt-in cage is all that is. On the back, a couple small things before we wrap up. I'm running the Max Built Trail Tail LEDs. They're not a true flush mount, and I did not want to have to core a hole in my tub, so they worked great. They're pretty much a flush mount. I'd say they stick out maybe a 1/2 inch past the tub. If I somehow hit that on something, I don't know what I'm doing anyway. So Max Built Trail Tail LEDs look great at night, nice and bright. Reverse lights are nice and bright. I've got the tag just wrapped around the corner of the tub. What I did here is just take the factory tag bracket off, grabbed a can of just Rust-Oleum paint, and kind of rolled this radius into the tag, and then bolted it straight into the body. These two holes were already here, and I just self-tapped that one into the body. So that's the tag, that's the tail lights. I think we've hit most of the other stuff. Like I said, that's best top door surround for the uppers. I've got the best top Trek top. Got an everyday off-road decal, of course, on the top of the windshield. Only auxiliary lights we're running are these rigid D-series pods, which mount to the A-pillar, and then the wiring runs inside to the switches I just went over a second ago. Headlights are truck light LEDs. It's probably one of the first things we did to this Jeep was buy these headlights. That is just the auxiliary cooler for the PSC stuff. And I believe that is literally everything on this thing, guys. If y'all think of something that I missed, please tell me. We hit wheels and tires, we hit lift, we hit transfer case, we hit axles, we hit armor, half doors, everything on the body, cage, interior. I believe that's it. All right, guys, if you can't tell from my hair and just sweat everywhere, it is burning up out here. Appreciate you guys watching this video. This is the 2024 most updated version of our walk around. So we just went over every single thing on this Jeep. If you've got any extra questions, drop them in the comments. Thanks again for watching. I can't wait to get this thing out on the trail, get some more footage this fall. See you guys in the next video.